The blueprint, study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3-Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be talking about NXT from June 28th, 2022. A so-so episode of NXT. A lot of the outside the ring stuff was better than the inside the ring stuff. No news and notes really to get into, except, people saying that, oh, nothing is expected to change with Triple H back. And I was like, I kind of figured as much. But, it is what it is. So let's get into the show. The first match, Kayden Carter and Katana Chance were defeated by Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. And this was a number 1 contenders match. Now, Toxic Attraction was in the lounge taking selfies. And sort of the story in this match is that the superior tag team was actually Kayden Carter and Katana Chance. They were utilizing their double team moves. They were faster. They were, a little bit more experienced. But there was some miscommunication at times, such as Katana Chance disappearing for a little while, which frustrated Kayden Carter because she couldn't find her. Then she finally did find her, and they missed their finish, which was the net breaker 450 splash. And that led to Roxanne Perez hitting the Hot Rocks, or the Code Red, to win the match. And apparently, from the Toxic Attraction promo that came later, this means that Roxanne Perez does not have to use her tournament win. So according to the promo later, for starters, JC Jane was unimpressed and says if they're going to put forth that kind of effort against them next week against the Great American Bash, it's going to be easy to beat them. Gigi Dolan said they've beaten best friends before, so it doesn't matter if they're best friends. Mandy Rose says that Roxanne Perez should have used a contract on her. And I was like, okay, does this mean she doesn't have to use the contract? I'm confused. Because I thought this was, the point is she was using her contract for her tag team titles, but then she wouldn't need to win a number 1 contenders match if she was doing that, right? Now I'm confused. Anyway, Nikita Lyons stepped to Mandy Rose and says that now that she's back, her eyes are on Mandy. And Mandy rightfully said, sweetheart, all the eyes are on me already. And says that she's going to show Nikita Lyons that when she is around, she's the queen of the jungle. So I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. I'm not a big fan of them throwing this match away. This Nikita Lyons versus Mandy Rose match. They just did it on this show. You would think they would have put some effort into it, built it up, told a story, but I think is what they're doing. They put them in there to see how they mesh together. And the match itself was, it was okay. If this was supposed to be the big match that they built to, I probably would be upset. But considering this match had almost no build to it, it was built out of a promo. I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. I didn't really care for this match that much. It ended in disqualification anyway, which I could have saw coming, with Toxic Attraction jumping Nikita Lyons. They held Nikita Lyons down. Mandy Rose was like he's about to, beat her up or whatever. Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez made the save. Okay, so we've set it up. We kind of moved Indy Hartwell on. She was a part of this whole thing a couple of weeks ago. Now she's been moved on. She's doing something else, and they've inserted Nikita Lyons. Kayden Carter and Katana Chance have a heel turn coming. They went into the locker room and started kicking boxes and all kinds of stuff. And what are you looking at? She's like one of the shortest people on the roster. What are you looking at? That girl bad though. That girl sexy. Anyway, so they're about to turn heel, get very frustrated, and flip the lid. But Toxic Attraction kind of still holds court right now. So it's all coalescing nicely, but I just want to know whether Roxanne Perez is utilizing her contract or not. And if she's not, then there's a possibility she could have both titles. I don't know. I don't know. I think they didn't do a good job of clarifying that position of what's going to go on there. But it seems like the Nikita Lyons Mandy Rose thing will actually happen, and that's the direction that they're going in. They kind of gave a little teaser Without giving us a solid winner or loser, we can go into that at some other point and build from there. And I said, okay, I'm willing to play along with that. Now it seems like everybody has a plan right now. My issue is going to be what's the plan afterwards. But one of my subscribers said something, I think it might have been a week or two ago, and it was about NXT and people praising NXT about the women's division. And if I remember correctly, if you're the one who said this, please chime in the comment section so you can get credit. But the comment was that NXT delves too much into the women's division and that maybe they're doing too much. Now, this kind of hit me tonight. You know, I think this statement might have been made after the all women's show, but tonight they had one women's match, one women's segment, 2 women's matches, 2 women's segments. That's 4 women's segments, 5 women's segments, and 6 women's segments, 7 women's segments on the show. Now, not all of them were matches, not all of them were long. Some of them were vignettes, some of them were, promos, but there's a lot of women on the show. Now, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, but I do understand, because I'm one of those people who thinks about pretty much everything, that there is a certain thing called an opportunity cost. Meaning that if the time that you put, I don't know, Indy Hartwell versus Kiana James on this show, that means that there were guys who didn't make the show, right? That's time you took in from somebody else. Now, we can argue, are there really guys who are being shortchanged in this way? Maybe. So that's kind of a question that we could ask, like, are we doing the right thing? Is it too much women's wrestling on this show? For some people it is. For me, I think that they're exposing the right women. You're dealing with toxic attraction in terms of them being a trio, and that and they hold the titles as far as the women's division is concerned. So you have to build stories around them. Now they need to also be ancillary women's stories, because you need to build contenders and different things like that at other points in time. Like, you can't pull up AEW and you have 1 women's segment per show. I mean, you just can't get away with that. Does that mean you need to have 7? I don't know. But I'm of the opinion that if the segments are good, then I wouldn't notice it. But tonight I did notice it. Especially consider how smushed the Mandy Rose Nikita Lyons match was. Instead of building it for next week, even if it was going to be non-title, they could have built it for next week and had them wrestle for the first time on that show, rather than have an untelevised, no-build match where I don't think they really even televised Nikita Lyons making her return. Like, they built up to it with the vignettes and everything, but it wasn't like a big deal being made of it. And she didn't stand in the middle of the ring and call Mandy Rose out or anything like that. It was a backstage segment where they exchanged words. And I'm always getting kind of skittish about this whole, well, we had a bit of a conversation. Not even like we brawled backstage and now we're going to fight tonight. But, I slighted you, you slighted me verbally. Now we have to have the match immediately. I don't think that's, proper booking of a storyline. I'm always for the show should already be booked. We'll do it next week. Like, we should already understand that time is allotted for the evening, because there should have been stuff going on a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We'll deal with this next week. On the rare occasion that we need to tell a story in the same night, you do that, but it shouldn't be a recurring thing like it is on NXT. Whereas and Raw, especially, it's really bad on Raw and SmackDown, but it's getting a little too much on NXT too, where me and you have a conversation and next thing you know, we're in a match. It's like, okay, it doesn't need to happen that way. Theoretically speaking, this show should already be booked. But if there are too many women's segments on NXT, I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no, but I say tonight I did notice that there were a lot of women's segments. Some of them were important, some of them weren't. But, that's just kind of how it is with the guy segments, too. Some of the segments really furthered storylines. I'm always okay with segments that further storylines. And all of the women's segments on this show furthered women's storylines. So, can't complain. But for some people, it is a bit much. And I know that it probably does hurt the ratings. Especially when it's women who are not really all that over. And, they aren't really big stars or being pushed as stars or anything like that. I get it. So, Toxic Attraction survived the evening again, even though they kind of was on their heels. But Toxic Attraction will be wrestling Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. And we'll do, matter of fact, I forgot to say this. We got to do Great American Bash predictions. So we'll do that later. We'll do it later. So we'll have to do Great American Bash predictions. All right. So that's the Toxic Attraction stuff. So the next segment was the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers and Ivy Nile were backstage working out, doing their thing. And we get yet another, hey, we had a conversation leads to a match thing. As Joe Gacy and his dyad approached Diamond Mine. And he tells the Creed brothers that he appreciates them a lot more than Roderick Strong does. And they should come and join his family. So the Creed brothers tell him, no, not a chance. Diamond Mine is forever. They're their own family. And Roderick Strong says that Diamond Mine is a family. It's the strongest family in NXT. And Joe Gacy was willing to give them the opportunity to prove it on this show. So Diamond Mine versus Joe Gacy and the Dyad was actually booked later on. This match was not good. It wasn't good. I didn't enjoy this. It felt long as hell to me. It felt like I looked up and like, this match is still on. Ooh. I mean, theoretically speaking, the Creed brothers are baby faces, sure, but Roderick Strong really isn't. So it's like 2/3 baby faces versus heels. I mean, it's just really strange. The Creed brothers, I forget which one it was, the stout one, the one with the thick neck. He did like taking a knee during a stalling suplex. I mean, that was just amazing. So Strong ended up getting pinned as the Creed brothers on a roll. They hit one of their big finishes, and then he tags himself in, and he get beat with the elevated DDT. The Creed brothers just kind of stood on the ring apron and watched him get beat, which, sucks. They didn't try to save him. So Joe Gacy and his boys win. Congratulations. You won. Congratulations. Later on, Roderick Strong was heated at the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers, of course, are like, look, we're Diamond Mine. Diamond Mine don't lose. Diamond Mine do not lose. And Strong says, you guys need to listen to me. The Creed brother says, all we do is listen. He said, okay, well, if you're listening, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. And he said, since you won't listen and you're not hearing me, you're going to have to learn firsthand as me and Damon Kemp take your tag team championships next week. And I was like, okay, but I would have expected more drama than this. Like, it should have just been booked better. Like, Roderick Strong has zero momentum going into this match. He just got pinned. So he has no momentum going into this match. So he's not really a believable contender at this point. And why not just have him turn on them? Like, there was a situation where Roderick Strong just kind of walks out and says, you guys should have been able to handle this on your own. You guys didn't need me. You said you didn't need me to win the tag team championships. And like, why did you need me here? He should have walked out. He should have just flat out walked out and left the Creeds to get beat by Gacy and the Dyad. Now, yes, you're pinning the tag team champions, but theoretically speaking, the Dyad is going to be potential contenders later anyway. And you could always use this whole, they've already beaten the Creed brothers. So that would have been at least something there where the loss would have been okay. Now, the loss still was all right because it was Roderick Strong getting beat. And Roderick Strong is, the weak link, but he has a loud mouth, and he hasn't really been living up to Diamond Mine standards anyway. But I don't like how quickly we got here. It felt, I know they were building it up. Yes, I know, weeks and weeks and weeks of this. But it felt like we never had a proper breaking point. And it feels like we still haven't had a proper breaking point. Like, there needs to be a point in which Strong and Kemp demolished the Creed brothers and left them laying. Stomped them, beat them up, put them through a table or whatever. Or just stretched them in submission holds. To the point where Ivy Nile had to get in the ring and pull them off or something. And we could have gotten the idea that this is the real Diamond Mine. This is what Diamond Mine should be. That's kind of what I was expecting. That's not really what I got. So I'm not thrilled with what I got. But at least they're telling a story here. I wish they hadn't, I guess this is one of the few times where I was okay with the whole, we had not even a stiff conversation, but now we're going to fight segments. I guess I'm okay with that. I don't know. Whatever. Giovanni Vinci defeated Ikem and Jiro. Match didn't really do much for either guy, really. Vinci was dominant. Since a lot of people think he's going to be one of the maximum male models, I don't really see the point of him still being here. Like, if he's going to do maximum male models, what the hell is he still doing in NXT? He could have been pulled immediately, and I don't think anybody would have noticed. But I'm just looking at this guy. He's just like a giant dildo. I mean, he's sleek from head to toe, no body hair, no hair on his head, nothing. He just looks like a random criminal from like a beat 'em up fight, like Final Fight or something like that. Like, he's just the most. He's just a weird looking guy, and his entrance is hilarious with the posing and everything. It's actually kind of funny. And now he's got a victory pose, Victoria, when he points at the camera and all that kind of stuff. He's like the only guy that's allowed to talk to the camera too. So Giovanni Vinci, he can talk to the camera. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else is supposed to acknowledge the camera, but he's acknowledging the camera. That's an interesting character thing that they added there. I'm sure Vince and Bruce and Kevin Dunn are going to destroy that. They're going to definitely get rid of that. Did you guys hear that story about Buff Bagwell? That when he came to the WWF, they didn't tell him that until right before he went out. That he couldn't do his "I'm buff and I'm the stuff," all that kind of shit in the camera. That he didn't know he couldn't do it. Of course, he blamed that for why his match with Booker T didn't get over. Because he didn't get to do his gimmick and acknowledge the camera. And I didn't really realize how much Buff Bagwell did that until he said he couldn't do it in WWF. And then I didn't really know how much I missed guys doing that until I stopped seeing guys do it. Because there are times where you do need to acknowledge the camera. You do need to talk to the people at home. And those silly promos where they're talking angrily to the talking head who's holding the microphone don't really make much sense. Especially when you look at some of the old promos and guys are looking directly at the camera. Like a lot of those Sid promos, those Ultimate Warrior promos, like those promos do not work in today's environment. If you was to take Ultimate Warrior and tell him not only can he not walk around, he has to stand still. He can't turn his back to the camera. He can't even acknowledge the camera. That doesn't work, So you would think like they really kind of, and I don't know when it happened. It was such a subtle shift that it just stopped happening. It just stopped. So it was like, it's hard to even say like, when did we get to that point where guys couldn't acknowledge the camera anymore? So it's a big deal that somebody actually does. So that's interesting. Maybe I ought to do some research and try to figure out when they told guys to stop doing that. And I'm pretty sure it was probably in like some FCW class or something like that where they told guys not to look at the camera. All right, so we got some segments from Trick and Mello. These were actually pretty good segments. It was good segments because I just thought they were interesting. So Carmelo Hayes is asked about being the A champion. He says he became the A champion without even trying. And it said it took hustle, loyalty, swagger, charisma, and a whole lot of disrespect. So nobody can't tell him nothing. and he ain't trying to hear nothing from nobody. Trick Williams, of course, was there to be silly. And then Grayson Waller comes in. And Grayson Waller is pretending to be a big fan of Carmelo Hayes. And he's bragging about beating Solo Sikoa. And they're like, brass knuckles. He's like, oi, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the brass knuckles. We got this. So he starts asking for Carmelo Hayes' autograph because he's a fan of the A champion. So he gets Carmelo Hayes to sign a basketball. He gets him to sign a couple of Polaroids. And he's like, oh, man, you're the best. And he kind of goes away. And Carmelo Hayes is like, you know what? I like that guy. I think I can trust him. He literally says, I think we can trust Grayson Waller. It was so on the nose that you knew it was some kind of hook coming. Because, like, who the hell says, I think I can trust that guy out loud? After just meeting him, apparently this is the first time they've ever met. Which is not, I'm sure. But it was so funny. He's like, I think we can trust that guy. So then later on, Trick Williams is asked about Wes Lee, because Wes Lee says some tripe about Trick ruining his moment, and that he's not soft because he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and that he has no pity for Trick Williams' disrespect, and that they're going to fight at Great American Bash, and he's going to find his inner peace in the ring. I was like, oh no, more wrestling monks. No more wrestling monks, please. They did this for I don't know how long with Tyler Bate. It's awful. No more wrestling monks sitting in the middle of the ring, with incense and candles. No, we don't need that. I don't care about that crap. I don't care about your inner peace. Do something else. Please do something else. Please don't do inner peace. Please don't start looking for inner peace in the ring. Don't do that. Don't do it. Anyway, Trick Williams laughed this off and said the bigger, better man is going to beat. I don't know what other B words he used, but it was pretty funny. Then Carmelo Hayes was asked about his title match against Grayson Waller. He's like, Grayson Waller? That's my man. I ain't wrestling Grayson Waller. And then it's revealed to him that one of the documents that he signed was a contract for a match with Grayson Waller for the North American title. And he got mad. He bounced back quick. Players fuck up too. And he says that, when you play with Melo, you play yourself. So he'll have no problem wrestling Grayson Waller. And NXT breaking paradigms, having babyface versus babyface matches and heel versus heel title matches and stuff like that. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think that in a situation where Grayson Waller is wrestling Carmelo Hayes, people are naturally going to move over to Carmelo Hayes, because not only because Grayson Waller is the antagonist of this situation, he tricked Carmelo Hayes into signing this title shot, which is brilliant, by the way. I think that was pretty smart. Instead of asking him for one or, trying to cause one through promo, he slipped a contract in there and said, hey, just sign this. I will sign this too and sign this too. I like how he did that. It was very smarmy. It's great for that character, to get Carmelo Hayes to sign a contract like that. It made Carmelo Hayes look a little bit like a buffoon, but it played into his ego. And for, swaggerific characters like a Carmelo Hayes, playing to their ego is a good way of getting over on them. So I'm okay with how that occurred. So I like the match too. Them, of course, moving away from the traditional babyface versus heel, which is what I like and what I prefer. There are times where you can get away with it, and I think that they're doing it a little too much. Like they did babyface versus babyface on this show with the Kaden Carter and Katana Chance versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Like they had babyface versus babyface matches. Like it usually doesn't help, So in this instance, it's not helping that we're going to have Grayson Waller play the heel for Carmelo Hayes. I don't know. Maybe they're going to turn Carmelo Hayes babyface. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But I liked the whole Grayson Waller trick. I enjoyed that. Briggs Jensen and not Briggs and Jensen. Good God. Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs are the NXT UK Tag Team Champions. I watched that show that they won the titles on, the hottest tag team under the sun, whose name I don't remember. One of them, I think, injured his knee. So they had to give up the belts. And for some odd reason, Briggs and Jensen were even an option. Like, they were visiting. They shouldn't even been an option. And when they won, and everybody knows, if you don't know by now, I hate Brooks and Jensen. I hate them. They suck. I'm sorry, Briggs and Jensen. They suck. I hate them. I hate them so much. So when they won, I politely closed my laptop, and said, you know what? I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to ignore it on NXT. I'm going to pretend I didn't see it. Lo and behold, those assholes showed up on NXT. I was like, God damn it. So here it is. Briggs and Jensen are in the ring for their championship celebration. They got Fallon Henley with them, which is the only good thing about it, is that she's kind of like this really fun cowgirl. Jensen says that Briggs believed in him and when nobody else did, and said that he thanks them. Briggs said that he's proud of Jensen, and of course they both agreed to give hottest tag team under the sun, Oliver Carter and other guy. Is it Jason Jordan? Not Jason Jordan. That's not his name. I don't know what his name is. Anyway, I swear I don't. It's so plain. Fuck, they're plain as hell. Don't blame me, okay? They're plain. They promise to get them a rematch when they come back, but they're not going to be champions for long, hopefully, because Pretty Deadly interrupted, and then immediately Pretty Deadly came out to tell the truth. They said that the NXT UK Tag Team Championships used to be gorgeous. They used to have prestige. But then Briggs and Jensen won the titles, and they lowered the bar, and now the belts probably smell. which is great. And they said the only thing that can save those titles now is put them back on the two most delicious snacks in NXT, the greatest NXT Tag Team Champions of all time. Yes, boy. Pretty Deadly. Briggs and Jensen said there have been a lot of great NXT UK Tag Team Champions, of which Pretty Deadly are not one of them. Also called them the Zoolander twins, and then beat them up. I was like, God, this is not good. I love Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly is over with me. If they're going to be maximum male models, why are they still here? I kind of get it. They are from the UK. It makes sense that we would, bring them into former NXT UK Tag Team Champions. It makes sense that we would bring them in to sort of solidify Briggs and Jensen. But I don't want to solidify Briggs and Jensen. I want them gone. I want them crushed under somebody's boot. They need to go away. They suck. Can I sign some paperwork to get rid of these fucking guys? Like, do they have like an email list I can sign up for where I could just put Mr. Sexy Boy Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid? I've been a fan since 1993. I have agreed with, a lot of some bad decisions that you've made in recent years and maybe even historically. I've been a fan throughout. I will ask you for one thing, and that one thing is to take Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs and to throw them into whatever meat grinder or wood chipper that you can find. Just get rid of them. All right? I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if you use the almighty eraser. Just erase them. Go around Fallon Henley and erase both of them. And I think we could be squared. I will forgive you for breaking your back in a casket match, and we never got to match with The Rock and all that kind of stuff. I'll forgive you for all of that if you just get rid of these two fucking guys. I don't care if you have to send them to SmackDown. Just get rid of them. I don't care what you do. Just get them off this show. I want to enjoy this show, and I can't when you give 2 to 3 minute talking segments to Briggs and Jensen. That diminishes the value of this show. Mr. HBK, Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy. Just Just saying. You know, need more Pretty Deadly, less Briggs and Jensen. Indy Hartwell lost to Kiana James. That was a surprise. I guess Kiana James is going to get a push now. Maybe not, because outside of they had one promo against each other, this feud doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Indy Hartwell probably should have been called up a long time ago. She's still there. I'm not entirely sure why. SmackDown could use some women. I mean, they could. Indy Hartwell seems like prime caller-up material, especially since SummerSlam is right there. Like, SummerSlam is right here. We need more women's wrestling on SmackDown. Well, hold on. More women's wrestlers on SmackDown. So Indy Hartwell should have been plucked and moved to SmackDown, at least by now. Why she's still there, I don't know. And it seems silly to me that she's still there. You know, I think she proved herself when she did The Way, that she was kind of ready to be moved up. And in what capacity as terms of character and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't have to answer all the questions, okay? I'm just saying Indy Hartwell probably is TV ready. That's all I'm going to say. Tony D'Angelo. We meet Tony D'Angelo. He's at the pier with Stacks. He's with Stacks. And we see the rushing of the water, and there's this Godfather-like music playing in the background, and Tony D'Angelo's all busted up. He's heartbroken. I give you everything, and this is what you do to me. You come after my chair. Now he sleeps with the fishes. And he's playing with the watch that he gave Two Dimes a couple of weeks ago. Throws it into the river. Threw his clothes into the river. Everything goes into the river. Tony D'Angelo has officially committed a murder on NXT. He murdered a man. And it apparently is on camera that he committed a murder. Two Dimes is dead. Okay, look, Two Dimes drowned in whatever river that was. He did not come back up. Unless he is going to come back up. In which case, that's really long-term booking. Like, could you imagine they do some Swamp Thing kind of shit with Two Dimes where just like the end of, like in a year or so, because he can't come back for a year, they would do some shit where he crawls out of the river and the cops find him or something like that, and he's covered in gunk and he's coughing up, river water and fish and everything. And he's like, Tony D, I'm going to get revenge on Tony D. Tried to kill me. And I'm like, oh shit, he was in that river for a year. That's some shit I probably would do because I wouldn't give a fuck. But Two Dimes is dead. Two Dimes sleeps with the fishes. He's dead. That's unfortunate. I like R.I.P. Two Dimes. 2022 to 2022. We hardly knew ye. Wouldn't recognize you from anybody. You wouldn't pass the airplane test, but it's very unfortunate that we had to bury Two Dimes because he tried to take out the Don. And, he wasn't loyal to the family. Stacks hopefully learned a lesson. He won't have to go out the other side of the river. So while Tony D'Angelo was mourning his murder of Two Dimes, he gets a phone call that mocks him for not being North American champion. So he gets mad and throws that phone in the river too. And you know what? I need to also find Tony D'Angelo's email address and say, Mr. Tony D'Angelo, the Don of NXT, you need to realize you cannot throw all of your problems into the river. All right? That's just not a way to fix all your problems. You can't just, push and toss all your problems into that river. The river's not, people drink that water. It's probably, I shouldn't say what other things people do with water. But it's probably all kinds of other stuff going on in there. You can't just throw all your problems in that river, okay? You can't do it. It's just not feasible. So, moving on. Lash Legend apparently also committed a murder because Alba Fire is gone permanently, according to Lash Legend, who clapped and rolled her eyes, and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Drag Queen Story Hour. That's what we got here. So is Alba Fire dead? I don't know. Whenever a heel says that you'll never see that son of a bitch again, you can almost guarantee you're going to see him again. You know, heels almost never tell the truth in that regard. But I was also kind of, as I was talking about Indy Hartwell need to be called up, I was like, hell, Alba Fire, she's not going to win the title. She need to get called up too. And maybe that's what their plan is. You know, their plan is to have Lash Legend bink Alba Fire in the head with a bat and send her to SmackDown. The whole thing with Alba Fire, she has a great entrance. She's a good wrestler, but she's not particularly charismatic, not a particularly great promo. So she needs more time in NXT to develop promo skills. If they called her up to Raw or SmackDown, I think she'll be the second coming of Becky Lynch, where she'll be a fan favorite because she's a good wrestler, but it'll take her forever to get over. You know, and I think that's pretty much what it'll be. But they do need to get rid of some of these women in NXT, because they still have women in the Performance Center. Like, I'm constantly seeing pictures of women who have apparently been in the Performance Center forever, you know, and they're crafting gimmicks and they're working the house shows and everything. I'm like, who is this broad? I've never seen her before in my life. And they're like, WWE NXT superstar. I'm like, what? Like, I don't even remember when she got signed. When did this happen? We need to start, you know, bringing some of those chicks in. So that means some of these other chicks got to move out. So if Alba Fire and Indy Hartwell are on their way out, I'm good with that. They both had long NXT runs. Alba Fire, especially with the long NXT UK title run, when they really should just pulled her straight from NXT UK, like they did with Doudrop. But wanted to give her some NXT time, come up with a character and everything. Okay, cool. Now she came up with Alba Fire to change her name. People think it's cool. She had the glow-in-the-dark bat and everything. She could probably sell a bunch of those things in terms of gimmicks on the main roster. Maybe that'll be a big thumbs up. They won't let her wrestle with something tied around her waist, though. I don't get that. But like, again, good wrestler. Not so much on character and persona and personality, which is where she's going to need some help. But if they got rid of her, good. You know, they need to save up some space. I don't know why we would give that push to Lash Legend, because Lash Legend sucks. She sucks. She's not good. All right, moving on. Zion Quinn and Sanga. Sanga's a massive dude. He's a big dude. He's not particularly good either, but he's a big dude. You know, big and hairy. And he looks like Shad Khan. He looks like Tony Khan's daddy. I guarantee you, if they ever come across each other, Tony Khan's going to give him one of those weird hugs where he's going to press his face right into Sanga's chest and be like, you're like my daddy when I was 14. You look just like my daddy when I was 7. Oh my God, I love you so much. I love that daddy. And he had the curling mustache like the Iron Sheik, because Sanga got it too. And Shad Khan also had it. You know, now there's no genetic difference between Pakistanis, which Tony Khan is, and Indians, which Sanga is. There's no genetic difference between the two. You know, it's essentially one big country that was split in two, Pakistan and India. So theoretically, they're genetically the same. It's the same as the Khans, you know? So maybe that's why they got the Iron Sheik mustache. It kind of just grows that way, you know? Zion Quinn continues to get kicked around. They must have something big in store for this guy, man, because he's really eating shit in NXT. He's eating a lot of shit. He loses this match despite having most of the offense. I didn't particularly like this match either. Sanga, again, is not very good. You know, he reminds me a lot of Mahabali Shera, where he's got a great look, but once he starts moving around and everything, it's kind of like, nah, you know, he just ain't there yet. Maybe he just might need to be a bodyguard type. You know, he might just need to be one of those guys. Later, Zion Quinn interrupted Solo Sikoa and Apollo Crews as they was having a conversation. Solo Sikoa was pacing like a wild bear, upset that he lost to Grayson Waller, and now Grayson Waller's getting a title match. He's very mad about that, not happy. Apollo Crews told him to keep his head up, that he's magic in the ring. And Solo Sikoa was like, you know what, thanks, man. I really needed that advice. And Zion Quinn, who had just lost to Sanga, told Apollo Crews that it's been 3 years since he's last been there. And if Apollo Crews is on a mission, an adventure to become the perfect WWE superstar, well, it won't work because Zion Quinn is already the perfect WWE superstar. He went through all of his attributes about being tall and handsome and tough and everything. And Apollo Crews is like, look, man, I get it. I understand it. On paper, your future is very bright. But when I look at you, I don't really see it going too far. And Zion Quinn standing there like, huh? You talking to me like that? And I'm like, man, they just kicking this guy around like a soccer ball. He's just going to go from one feud to the next losing. Just one feud to the next losing. And making him eat shit. So that means he probably got a plan for him. Vince probably already saw him and said, you know what? I like that kid. Let's see if we can force him to quit. And if he doesn't quit, as we beat him 100 ways from Sunday in NXT, we'll push him on the main roster. Because Zion Quinn is getting his ass beat. Pretty much. He's not going to beat Apollo Crews. That's not going to happen. So it's just, he's already lost to Wesley. He got pretty much embarrassed by Sanga. Now he's going to, it's not good. He's just stuck here doing this. This sucks. But I understand that, look, whenever I don't think that the way people are pushed on NXT is necessarily indicative of their main roster push. There's plenty of guys who won NXT championships that went to the main roster, flopped. Not just Karrion Kross. I'm talking even guys from the black and gold era. Bobby Roode. So look at that. Malachi Black, Neville, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is doing better now, but it was a long time before Sami Zayn finally clicked and got it. But when you look at people who are NXT essentially washouts, like Lacey Evans and Alexa Bliss and Elias, Baron Corbin, people who didn't really get there, they probably not even been in NXT very long. Liv Morgan is another one. Didn't get a lot of face time in NXT, but moved up to the main roster and, they found some reason why they liked them, and they push him. So I think Zion Quinn is going to be in that territory, where he's a guy who's probably never going to get to the top of NXT. But he's likely going to find himself in a prime position when he get moved to Raw or SmackDown. At least that's my hope, because the guy is pretty good. All right, what else we got left, for Christ's sake? Wendy Choo having nightmares about Tiffany Stratton. Then she's also having dreams about embarrassing Tiffany Stratton. And we got to see those dreams and nightmares. So now we're doing magic, where we can see what she's dreaming. And then we double down on the fucking magic, because she wakes up in a room with no walls, no pictures, no nothing. It's like smoky. This is like a chamber. This is not a room that she's in. It's like a dungeon. And of course she's got the onesie on and everything, and she started brushing her teeth, and now we can hear her thoughts. And her thoughts are like, Tiffany Stratton thinks I'm stupid, but I'm not stupid. She just thinks I'm stupid. And then after she gets done brushing her teeth, she says, it's simple, stupid. Get under your skin, go for the pin, and get the win. And I was like, ugh! I just wanted to launch from my couch and punch the screen. I was just like, this is the most frustrating episode of NXT I've had in a while. I was legit like, I get Wendy Choo off my TV immediately. I don't want to hear her thoughts. I don't want to see her dreams. I want her to be torn apart. Almost as much as Brooks and Jensen at this point, almost. The final thing, we got two more things. We got JT McDonough, who says that he's not just the ace of the UK, he's the ace everywhere he goes. All right. I saw the ace on Sunday, Russell John Moxley. That's the ace I saw. I don't dislike Jordan Devlin, though. It's just, I saw the ace already. So we got the face-to-face. Now, this was a strong segment, and it didn't last too long, so they cut straight to the point. Braun Breaker started respectfully, saying that he knows that Cameron Grimes is going to bring it because he's got nothing to lose. Cameron Grimes counters by saying, hey, if you lose, you lose that championship, maybe you get a job on Raw or SmackDown. They call you up and put you on SummerSlam. But what about me? What happens if I lose? I got no backup plan. This is all that I can do. I lost my champion North American title, and instead of falling back and going back for that, I decided to put all my chips on this. This is my opportunity. This is my thing. He says, but NXT, that was your backup plan. You know, you wanted to be in the NFL, and then the Baltimore Ravens told you weren't good enough. So you called your daddy, and you said, Daddy, I always wanted to be in the WWE. And so Brian Breaker was like, whoa, where did this come from? It's like literally 2 weeks ago when he, went after your daddy then. So, so Brian Breaker was like, look, I thought this was about respect. But, since you want to take it there, you're going to go to the moon. And you're not going to find you're not going to like what you find when you get there. And then Cameron Grimes responded by saying, if you knock me down, I get back up. You keep knocking me down, I'm going to keep getting back up. And then he says, I'm going to keep knocking you down, Brian Breaker says. Then he says that, he's going to knock him down and he's going to have to ask Ted DiBiase what to do next. That was supposed to be like a burn, but the crowd didn't really register it. It was like, oh, hey, we forgot about Ted DiBiase. Like, I did too. Why you? So Cameron Grimes says that Brian Breaker does not have his heart, and his daddy didn't have a heart either. And Brian was like, okay, look, this motherfucker. And said that's why his daddy was never world champion. And then boom, Brian Breaker starts to beating that ass. They get into a little bit of a scrum. Cameron Grimes throws Brian Breaker into the ring post. And then he does it again into the turnbuckle. And the turnbuckle comes off. And now Brian Breaker is selling his, if I remember correctly, it was his left shoulder. And all the officials and everything run into the ring to try to protect Braun. And so now we get the official heel turn of Cameron Grimes as he whispers in Braun's ear as Braun is selling this arm bruise. Hey, maybe if we was 100%, maybe I wouldn't be able to beat you. But looking at you right now, you ain't looking 100% to me. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. It finished strong. Not the best show. Certainly not my favorite episode of NXT. But by God, it finished strong. I actually enjoyed that finish. That finish was quite good. I'm not going to hold you up. The finish was quite good. So let's go through the NXT Great American Bash card and do some predictions while we're here. All right. So match 1, Wendy Choo versus Tiffany Stratton. I'm telling you, if Wendy Choo defeats Tiffany Stratton, that's going to be a tragedy. That's a whole lot of not good right there. That's not good. I can tell you that ain't good. So I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton. Match 2, Trick Williams versus Wesley. Trick Williams has tremendous charisma. He's not much of a wrestler, though. I'm not a fan of Wesley. I'm not on the Wesley train. But I'm okay with Wesley winning this match because Trick Williams is an untested singles wrestler. And so I'm going to be okay with that. I mean, we've seen Wesley defeat people, not just people bigger than Trick Williams, but he's a lot more experienced, and we could always play that card that he's more experienced in everything. So it sucks, but I'm going to have to go ahead and go with that. All right, NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Now, I think everything is set up right now to flip the titles because they really put some oomph behind Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, with Roxanne Perez establishing herself in that tournament. And if they don't beat Toxic Attraction, I have no idea who will be Toxic Attraction. So it's kind of like by default, they kind of have to lose the belts to them because there really is no other options. And to be quite honest, there really isn't any options for Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade either. Outside of Toxic Attraction, like there's no other heel team. Not the one I can think of. I don't think Valentina Feroz and Elisa Leon are a heel team, are they? They're barely on TV, so they can't really be a heel team. So they really should focus all their women's energy on NXT into building women's tag teams. I think that would be a better usage of their time. I'm going to go with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, though. All right. The NXT Tag Team Championships, Julius and Brutus Creed versus the Diamond Mine, Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp. I think it's pretty clear that we're nearing the end of the run of Roderick Strong. And, of course, I don't think we're going to punctuate that win with him becoming a tag team champion. I think he's definitely going to lose to the Creed brothers. And we're going to prove that the Creed brothers don't really need Diamond Mine. And we're going to finally move on from that. And I'm just saying who's going to get possession of Ivy. Because Ivy seems to be doing her own thing. But she's not doing much of her own thing. Considering she has no angle of her own. You know, she was in NXT UK for a while. Had that great match with Meiko Satomura. And then she came back to the United States and just kind of been chilling, standing in the corner, watching these guys do their thing. I think it would probably be smart to let Ivy Nile be the deciding factor in this, maybe. Hopefully. You know, and she gets to pick which side she wants to go with, and it'll probably be the Creed brothers. And their version of Diamond Mine goes forward, and maybe we have Damon Kemp kick Roderick Strong out and maybe beat him up or something like that. I don't know. But I think this is going to be the end for Roderick Strong. I don't really see him doing much more after this. Because this seems to me like this is what they didn't want to release him for. Is they kind of felt like, okay, we want to finish up this Diamond Mine thing on your way out. And they just picked the Creed brothers to be the guys he puts over. So hopefully that's it. You know, so I'm going to go with the Creed brothers. The NXT North American Championship, Carmelo Hayes versus Grayson Waller. Carmelo Hayes, he could and probably should beat Grayson Waller. They're doing something with Solo Sikoa, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. You know, I think they're teasing, you know, Waller and Sikoa having one more go at it. And maybe if Waller is the champion, that would make more sense. But then again, he doesn't need to be. Grayson Waller is a guy who can get heat without being the champion. And I'm not sure how much of Carmelo Hayes' character is him being the champion. Now, let's say you want to move Carmelo Hayes up as a contender against Braun Breaker or Cameron Grimes or whatever. Then he should drop the title here to Grayson Waller and then let Grayson Waller build it up, you know, build himself up with the title. But at the same time, Carmelo Hayes did just win it. You know, he did just win it. So I'm kind of two minds on it, where I can see Grayson Waller trying to steal it. And I would be okay if he did win. But I think I'm going to go ahead and say Carmelo Hayes. I think Carmelo Hayes is going to beat him. And I think they're probably going to build up Hayes and Sikoa, which seemed like the longer term angle anyway. The main event of the show, Braun Breaker versus Cameron Grimes for the NXT Championship. This is what made the final segment really good, is that not only was it a sort of heel turn for Cameron Grimes, but it also opened up an opportunity for Cameron Grimes to win this match. So I'm looking forward to this match. This match is going to be fun. You know, Cameron Grimes is a can't miss in the ring. You know, character and all that sort of stuff is getting there. You know, he's actually so much better than he used to be when he was in TNA. So I'm actually enjoying the Cameron Grimes thing. He won me over. I don't think I would mind if he was the champion. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Braun Breaker, though. Because I just don't see them taking the title off of Braun Breaker. But I do think we'll probably get the full heel turn on this show, as Cameron Grimes is going to try to steal the title, because his character believes this is his last chance and this is all he got. You know? So he's not going to take any chances. And I think that he's willing to be the scumbag he needs to be to steal the title. And you always can bring Brian back. That's the thing about, you know, taking the belt from him. And you can always work, at least you can have him either work the angle without the belt or work angles without a belt, which Brian probably needs. He probably needs a substantial amount of time without the belt to define who he is as a character and come up with a story other than NXT is my life. You know, it's kind of like, that's cringe. You know, like, we need something else. We need more out of Brian Breakker. And maybe taking the title away from him will give him an opportunity to build that. But I still think he's going to win. So I'm going to go with him with Brian Breakker. Let me know what you guys think about NXT Great American Bash and the show itself. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.